Hi everyone. In this interview, we're continuing with the statement in God as mind we trust. And we're specifically continuing with the dimension of life and death. In the previous interview posts, we had a look at the abdication of responsibility and power that we have given to money itself and to God or gods or the systems through which they function or exist in the minds of men as religions and spiritualities, beliefs, movements. How we have in relation to money and God placed that power, that responsibility in relation to life and death, in how we have accepted and allowed that to determine life and death. Essentially, like we have taken our life and death in our hands and essentially served it to money itself or to God itself, and how we have done exactly the same in relationship to our minds or our consciousness. Essentially taken our life and our death in our hands that is in fact really existent or supposed to have been existent within our hands, and given it to money, God, and mind. So here in the previous interview post, we asked you to have a look at how you have defined life, like what is life, and within that very specifically your experience in relationship to life, and how within that the main point that was to be realized is how much of our relationship to our lives, to life itself, and our experience within and as it originate from within our minds. It is thoughts that we have about it. It is backchats or internal conversations that we have about it. And within that, the energetic experiences that get activated in relation to it. Energetic experiences being your emotions and feelings. So here we have to have a look at, just as a simplified definition of the mind or consciousness, is that with which you think. The thoughts that you have, like for example, let's take life and your personal world, in the context of your personal world more, and you had to look at how it is that you experience your life, and you find, for example, thoughts or internal conversations coming up of, I don't really enjoy my life. I'm okay with it, but it's not really what I would have wanted for myself. Words like that kind of come up in your mind. Or, in the mornings when you wake up and the thought comes up, oh dear God, just help me get through this day. Those type of things is how you are communicating with and as yourself through your mind or consciousness in the form or structure of thoughts, of internal conversations. So within this, what is fascinating is you'll see, realize, and understand, and this is what we're showing within the Desteni process, is that one can change one's relationship with oneself through the mind or consciousness, meaning that here we get into the difference between how we have abdicated our responsibility and power in our relationship to life, to our mind or consciousness, instead of being the decisive directive principle of ourselves in relationship to life. So here we're going to have a look at the process thus to be walked to essentially take back your life into yourself, into a starting point of a decision of you being the creator of your life, your living. Now, within this, as I've explained in the previous interview, with one walking one's internal process in relationship to life and one's experiences within it, it's not going to mean that your external world and reality is going to change. I mean, there you're working with physical reality, and as we've said, our physical realities, our personal world, is not really, in fact, so personal, but how we created or projected from within our own minds, because every single human, every single part of our lives in physical reality is interconnected to the greater world system, the greater money system. So, therefore, what we're saying is that in relation to your physical life and your experiences within it, you can start assisting and supporting yourself to change in relationship to it. Meaning, like, for example, those waking up in the mornings of, oh dear God, just get me through this day, or I really don't want to wake up, really don't want to see this day through. It's just going to be the same shit. It's just going to be the same thing. I just don't feel like dealing with those people. And, then the fear comes in of, I have to, there's not going to be money, to get in money to survive, and then your whole life plays out in front of you, and that then eventually motivates you to kind of get up or wake up. Now, within this, we're saying that you don't have to essentially make your physical life experience more difficult than it already is. Meaning we tend to exist in such relationships toward our lives, where most of us, for example, are in this world system, this money system, where we do have an income, where we have a roof over our head, where we have clothes on our back, and food to eat. And so within this, we are calling on those people, that are in this world system, this money system, to start getting out of that mind or consciousness definition of life and really get into the reality of what is going on. Essentially, not accepting and allowing yourself to be a victim or powerless or helpless to your life or living conditions and your experiences within it. Meaning, for example, that, when you get up in the mornings or when you're waking up and those thoughts start coming, those internal conversations and those experiences, it's like one can for a moment instead just look at the bigger picture of it and realize that this is my physical life at the moment. Physically, I cannot right now, at this very moment, change it. I mean, that's reality. But what I do have the power to change is who I am in relationship to it. So in relation to physical life and living conditions, we suggest investigating the equal money system. I mean, waking up in the mornings with that, with realizing that, okay, this is my life. I have to breathe, walk through it, moment by moment, breath by breath, and within that, know that I'm standing up for a global solution that will change these physical life and living conditions. And within this, it's quite fascinating how much of our minds are busy with things that we cannot at this very moment change. So, this is also an important point that you have to look at in terms of your physical life and living conditions, in how much of your time in your mind, your consciousness is spent on reacting to what is physically here, what is physically manifested. And, looking at that relationship in terms of going, but why are we reacting to things we cannot change right now? It's pointless, it's useless, it's making your life more difficult than what it needs to be. I mean, it's like standing in front of a wall and reacting to it. I mean, that's not going to change the wall in itself. So therefore, what we propose is the following. To really have change in our physical life and living conditions, it's going to take physical, real action. And, within reality, a real physical reality process. And that is what we're working with the equal money system. Now, with the Desteni process, for example, here we're looking at directing and dealing with and facing and changing the things that we do in every moment of breath have the power and ability to direct, to change, to transform, to stand up from. So within our relationship to life, for example, I mean, just in having a look at this relationship, you can see how you're abdicating your experience in who you are in relationship to your physical world and reality, abdicating that to your mind or consciousness, because you're more reactive to yourself in relationship to your life and living conditions than getting into that realization of, okay, physical life and living conditions is going to take a reality space-time process. So I let go of being reactive toward it, and I commit to walk a real practical reality solution. And then getting into your relationship to the point that you can change, that you can direct, that you can stand up from. It's having a look at the things that preoccupy your mind or your consciousness that is affecting your relationship with you, your body, other human beings. And within this, when one align oneself in such a way to always look at or look for solutions in, what I would suggest is having a walkthrough in writing forgiveness and commitments. In what personality or character have you created in relation to life or living and your physical world and reality conditions, to let that personality or character go. And from there, more focus in your mind and your consciousness on the things that you can direct, change, and transform, which is like, for example, reactive patterns or behavioral patterns or relationship issues or past experiences or memories that are still haunting you, like skeletons in the closet, how to transform and change your relationship with yourself, your body, other human beings to be more effective, supportive, and assisting. The dealing with the small things within your world and reality first, while you're walking the big things in the equal money system. I mean, that's taking your life in your own hands. That is creating and establishing you as the decisive directive principle of who I am within me and the practical physical living and walking of my life experience within this physical reality. And, just that understanding of, the fact that, and I understand that in a way it is also difficult, because there's like almost this, how can I say it, like this movement within you, that you kind of just don't, want to accept the reality of your life and living conditions. It's like you almost want to react to it all the time. And what you'll realize more is that you are within yourself actually hiding within and behind your relationship to physical life and living conditions. I mean, this is what the mind does. It diverts your attention to things you cannot change immediately, like your physical life and living conditions. And then you kind of leave the things suppressed that you actually really can do something about within yourself. So therefore, by moving yourself through the personality or character that you have created in relation to life and your life and living conditions. And, releasing the thought patterns, internal conversations, reactions, and behaviors, you can within that get to the real things that you do have the power and ability to change. So walking through that will essentially give you access to that power and that ability to take your life in your own hands. Because through that life or living personality or character that you've created in your mind or consciousness, that is essentially the personality or character through which you have abdicated your power and ability to take responsibility, directive principle for your life, your living, who you are. And obviously within this is only looking at the definition of life in relation to this physical reality. We're not yet getting to the life of equality and oneness as of yet. I will continue with that in interviews to come. This is only in relation to just stabilizing yourself within you in your physical world or physical environment. We tend to your mind or consciousness, you can have a look out for that tendency that you have of creating a personality or character in your mind to things that you cannot change immediately in physical reality. Because such points tend to be diversions for us to suppress things that we don't really want to see or look at or come to terms with within ourselves, like who we are in relation to relationships, who we are in relation to our memories, things that time loop within our minds, like merry-go-rounds over and over and over again, patterns that just stay the same. That dictate our nature, who we are. And so within this, the process of taking your life, you in your own hands, this is what we are assisting and supporting with showing in Desteni, the Desteni process, and the equal money system that I would suggest investigating in, really seeing here for yourself and how we are giving our life definition, meaning, living an experience, and abdicating it to money, to God, to mind. And the solution within all of this in taking back that power, ability, and responsibility is represented by equal money and Desteni, or the Desteni process. That the 2 points that is primarily to come together is the money point and the mind point. And for those that also have the God point, you're going to have to walk a process in relationship to that as well, in terms of how you've abdicated your life to a God instead of being the creative force of who you are and your life and living. So this process will essentially assist and support the majority, or those that slowly but surely start standing up and realizing this point in how we cannot expect anything to change if we don't take that responsibility and living action to really in fact change it within ourselves and in physical reality. Alright, so we'll go to here for this interview, and in the next interview have a look at death, in how we have abdicated our responsibility and relationship of death to money, God, and mind. And, within this, how our definition of life and death had come to belong to separate entities. And so therefore controlling us in these definitions of life and death instead of us living who we are in every moment of breath, and having the concept or definition or relationship of death hovering over our heads. I mean, it's another example of something that you cannot change, which is death. It is in reality, inevitability. And yet we constantly and continuously preoccupy our minds with something that we cannot change. Alright, so some more interesting points to come. Thank you very much.